I know.
Actually, let me ask you that. What prevented you from doing that? Like, why didn't you become our final boss?
Um, I actually developed a heart, and I also just completely destroyed my heartless self.
What? How did you develop the heart? I didn't quite pick up on that.
Nobody's naturally develop hearts when they spend time with their friends.
That is
No,
actually
it's actually
canon.
when I did the act of resurrecting fake Terran.
Yeah.
How?
Aw.
So I have to ask.
It's the power of friendship, guys. Come on, it's what runs this series.
I figured that I was like probably third or fourth most likely to actually get the snap. How the fuck did I get another character to die? Every fucking game.
I don't know.
So, Dan, I was thinking of like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm definitely doing the snap, especially because my starting plot was to restore worlds that fell to darkness that ended up in the book, which turned out to be the solution to that is literally only the snap, and then Coco had to give me a fucking Keyblade to decide was going to stop me from dying.
I made you better.
You did.
So to be fair, I would have taken off a couple of lines of the thing and added no more Keyblades.
Yeah, no, Sean was texting me this. He's like, I want to just jump for it. And I'm like, I'm not going to stop you from jumping for it.
When you jump for it, it's noticeable, and it goes into a fight.
Yeah, also, you're all in, a state of, like, I guess apathy. Like, you just have this feeling of all your energy being drained out of you. So
How would that have gone if we had just destroyed all the Keyblades?
Not as bad as you guys think. People would have had to start developing other technology.
I'm gonna point out, Muriela's totally teaching her bullshit angel light mode to people for a while.
Yeah. Eventually, like, Keyblades would make a resurgence, but never in the mass that it was. Like, FYI, guys, part of the Keyblade War was, in fact, a culling of Keyblade wielders.
Okay, so we were on track there.
Like, that is what I determined that was also canon.
Okay, so I have more questions.
Yes.
Okay,
You guys can ask me anything.
Talk Owen for a minute.
Sure.
Was Owen always the Master of Masters, even before his Anatus?
No.
Is Owen who I think he is, then?
Yes. Owen is exactly who you think he is.
Okay,
Who is he?
Okay, so for those of you who have not seen Gargoyles, Wex, would you like to explain?
Sure. So, you guys know how when worlds are combined, they combine two very similar people?
Yep.
So, I'm going to lay some Mad Gargoyle spoilers on y'all. Owen is like the butler, like completely loyal sidekick to Xanatos for basically the whole series. Around the end of like season 2, you learn that he's secretly been Puck the entire time. Like,
So if he's
Puck
Puck, who would you think he is?
Who's Puck?
like from
Midsummer
Oberon
Night's Dream.
Titania, Midsummer Night's Dream Puck.
He's a god of
He's
mischief.
fairly powerful.
Oh, okay.
He's a reoccurring character in the show who is like a very powerful fairy trickster character.
Yeah, so if we already know that the fusion of worlds there is Marvel and Gargoyles,
Who's the big trickster villain in Marvel?
So he's Loki and Puck?
Yes.
Yes.
I missed the Loki building. And I'll see you.
Well, I didn't figure it out until like a month ago when just sitting and chatting with Nick and Izzy, and then I just came to that horrifying realization.
And I laughed hysterically.
You couldn't have known it if you didn't know Owen from the show. Like, if you hadn't watched it or don't know anything about that, you'd have no idea that he was Puck.
Ironically, the person who gave Team G their first quest and their first stuff is in fact the one who was behind everything.
Just as planned.
Just as planned.
So now that's where my confusion comes in. So was he always the Master of Masters?
Okay, so yes and no. The question here, more or less, is, was this fusion character always the Master of Masters? I'll be honest, the Master of Masters in the early game, I had not settled on who I wanted it to be. I had kind of figured it was going to be one of 3 people, and then I kind of just blended who I wanted it to be, and Owen was the person. Originally, I was debating it to be the equivalent of the Jango Fett, because if you remember, Terran and all the Stormtrooper Terrans were clones.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I can make him the progenitor. So not only did he make create nobodies and, do this to Kingdom Hearts, but he also made a bunch of clones to help fight as well. And of course, all of these things fell apart. And so one of the things that the games haven't explained yet is exactly who the Master of Masters is, because if you look at a lot of the stuff the games are doing now, especially with Remind coming out, it seems like the Master of Masters is more of an antagonistic force than he is a helpful force.
Yep.
And that came out we were, I think, at session 15 or something. And once I found that out and I thought about what he had done canonically and what I had him doing in this game, I had to change who he was.
And is the reason he could do all that timey-wimey bullshit?
Timey-wimey bullshit canonically. He has his eye in the Keyblade and he could foresee things. The theory right now is canonically that he is a force of order and he doesn't like Sora, who failed his mark of mastery and whatnot, and he's going against the natural order of how things should be. And that's why people think Luxord, the Gambler of Fate, the member of Organization 13, is probably the arch nemesis of the Master of Masters, because he doesn't prescribe to things being predestined.
Right, but in our campaign specifically, I am curious how this works out. Xanatos fuses the world and makes Puck Loki without realizing.
No, he was always kind of a trickster fusion between Puck Loki. When he made the initial snap, he lost a lot of his power, so he kind of just took on this trickster role where he could exist in a much lesser capacity, and that's why he decided to do the Owen thing. Effectively, he followed the Puck plot and just said, I'll make you this deal. I can give you what you want, or I can do this, because I have enough power left to do either or. Effectively, the Master of Masters' goal, he says to keep balance and whatnot, but he knows balance is impossible to keep. He wants to keep the galaxy interesting. He doesn't want it to become stagnant. And that's
proves of this goal.
And one of the reasons why he, decided to work with Xanatos is because Xanatos is a guy who keeps pushing things forward, for better or for worse.
Right. No, absolutely that makes sense. I was trying to figure out how he became one with Loki and then how that worked into the whole thing.
He was kind of both. If you take, again, when I said them fighting with aliens, it's more along the lines of the Ultron timeline. Effectively, it would have been the same person either way. He did not need to be fused. He was already filling the roles of both.
Okay, that's a little meta and weird, but I can roll with that.
It's meta and weird, but this game is meta and weird.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, Izzy, question. What were the things that shocked you most that we decided to do?
I am curious about that, too.
Oh, jeez. Timeout in the book was probably the first one.
That was very important.
That went so badly.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was super important.
Yeah, no, I can't actually, there's a lot of little things. You guys did a lot of stuff that I had not planned on over the course of the entire game. Just and most of it was just we're going to head back to Daybreak Town and do this instead of going to another world. I'm I didn't really plan for Daybreak Town, but we'll just see how it goes. More recently, I was gonna throw you guys another world, but you guys were just nope, fuck it, we're done with Star Wars now after the Death Star blew up. So you guys just kind of sprinted towards the finale.
What did we skip?
I threw a couple of hooks in there, and I thought you guys were gonna eat it up when you found out there was a Miyazaki world.
Would be what?
A Miyazaki world.
Oh, that would have been great.
Oh, shoot.
World?
Porkins was from a Miyazaki world. The princess he asked you to rescue on the Death Star was Nausicaa, who said there was a problem on her world. The Power Rangers named Mia, Zoc, and Ki were helping with that.
Yeah, but Izzy, you forget that Porkins was a dick.
Yes, I know. Again,
it also had higher priorities at the time, because that's the point of, we need to assemble the entire gauntlet.
Yeah, remember, we were basically in a race with Xanatos at that point.
Yes, I know. Let's see, other things. Early on, you guys made Terran a lot more important than I thought he was gonna be. So
Because we hated him
well,
so
you hated him so much, and like you just found him so annoying, but you kept him around, and I'm like, well, I gotta keep this going. He will be the Jar Jar Binks of this game.
I mean, admittedly, at least 2 of us were in the last game where you had a massive Jar Jar Binks-esque hate sink.
Yes.
So we kind of fueled that.
To be fair, Izzy, I kind of wasn't letting them do anything to him.
Yeah, I know, and I was waiting, and I'm like, it's not happening. Though
At least we didn't murder this one.
the fact that Mute never took John Cena, I was waiting for that.
We
The
established
reason
why.
I didn't grab another summon because most of them had overlap with one of my other summons, and I believe I stated that John Cena, when we take him, it will just be too disappointing because of how amazing he was.
Yes.
Yep.
That's true. It would have ruined the legend.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, it would have. On the Spirit of the Nexus, where you guys were fighting the Heartless version of Maui, you didn't know it was as Heartless at the time, but the Reaper with the axe.
Yep.
The fact that you guys were able to stun lock and kill him, I had to quickly rewrite the end of that world as a result. Like, I didn't know what to do. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Was there anything that got figured out at a time that you weren't expecting?
Well, you guys did every time you went back to Daybreak Town, I'm like, okay, someone's going to talk to Nox and ask him about the Keyblade War, because it's popped up a few times. Or Mimi, and you never did. And then you'd like, and I'm like, oh, the freaking court case. Which was supposed to give you guys an in to asking more about the history of the Keyblades, because,
We've established we chose to ignore the main
oh,
plot.
you completely chose to ignore that main plot, and I'm like, okay, that's, and the world's.
Izzy, how you had Keyblade Wielders happen, I basically decided earlier on, Muriel aggressively wants to know nothing about the Keyblades and have nothing to do with them.
In a meta sense, I don't give it like a shit about the Kingdom Hearts plot, so that kind of carried over.
Yeah. No, that, and again, that's fine, and it only really hurts you when you guys were thinking like, crap, what's this meta thing from this past session?
Yeah.
But like overall, yeah, no, you guys avoided it, and much like Master has said, who I believe the quote was, he was as unimportant to this fight as he was to the story.
Yep.
Pretty much.
I mean that.
Izzy, I actually have a question.
Sure.
If we had combined the Dark Worlds and the Light Worlds, what would have happened?
That is what you did.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah, that's
thought
what
we
Dr.
combined
Boy
the
did.
Dark and Light Kingdom Hearts.
That's what Dr. Boy did. If you guys had left them separate, it would have been a lot better. Heartless would have continued to grow in the Dark Realm and eventually push through, and then it would follow the game's canon a little bit better. But in this case, where there is actually darkness in each planet's heart, there will be dark worlds that pop up at some point, which will probably be why you don't see these worlds in games. But because there's both light and dark in there, they can become dark worlds, but then they can also become light worlds once again. So, again, it's a flux.
Curious.
So I want to clarify Terran.
So it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
So,
Yeah, no.
so like clarify Terran. He was like just all the Terrans were cloned from him. I'm so confused.
Okay.
He
So
was he was every clone from the Clone Wars.
so Terran is a clone. He is not the original. All of the stormtroopers are clones, much like Terran. They are clones of the Master of Master. Because he cloned himself and then put them out in the world hoping they would fight the darkness. And most of them fell in with the Empire. And the one reject clone that the Empire was like, he's not good at anything, they dumped on a backwater world called Radiant Garden. And that's Terran.
Oh God.
What
How much of that did you decide ahead of time?
How much of that did I decide ahead of time? Again, when you guys made Terran more important than he was, once he showed up 2 more times, like when you guys met him in the bayou, I knew there were going to be stormtroopers that were Terrans. Like, I knew that at that point. When you guys first met him, I'm like, he's going to be a one-off, he's going to annoy them. And then you guys tried trading him as a rogue, and you kept bringing him around, and I'm like... So after that point, he was going to be... I knew he was going to be a clone trooper, effectively. A failed clone trooper.
Ha
Okay.
ha ha.
All right.
Actually, before I forget, what happened to Orion and I?
You both became somebodies. That was part of the wish.
No. How did we become split in the first place?
Okay, so Orion, it's in... I believe you wrote this in your backstory. You woke up with the Master of Masters standing over you in Shibuya, correct?
Yeah. So effectively, I'm playing Renoa in the stage of Final Fantasy VIII when she is possessed by Ultimecia, because it turns out Ultimecia's plotline sounds a lot like Master Xehanort's plotline in Kingdom Hearts. So clearly, Ultimecia was the prototype for it.
Yeah.
So basically, I woke up in Shibuya as the nobody self because Ultimecia Renoa was working with the Master of Masters to create the nobodies.
Yeah, and you were the first actually tried test to make a sentient nobody.
Yep.
Didn't work out quite the way he thought it was going to.
Someone dropped.
Orion did.
Yep. One thing I was curious about, Izzy, because in character I aggressively tried to avoid anyone ever wanting to go to Atlantica. What would you have done if we went there?
You would have gotten recognized immediately.
Yep.
All right.
Also,
how did Basil split then?
Okay, Basil split. I actually just used what Basil gave me in his backstory, which was he started experimenting with Heartless, and Dr. Dawson gave him a weapon, and because it was given out of friendship, he was able to use it to fight against the darkness, but he kept experimenting with it. And one day when he was, testing this out, trying to, control them, the darkness effectively overwhelmed him, and he didn't remember that part, and that's where he split, in that alleyway. So the Heartless version of Basil traveled through the Dark Dimension and ended up in Dunkirk, where you guys started, whereas the Nobody version remained in London and was still using that shillelagh that he was whacking things, having failed another experiment.
And neither one knew.
Neither one knew they were split. Because Basil is mostly about logic, so Nobody version of him wouldn't really have noticed that he was lacking
and
some
no one
emotion.
else would have noticed either.
Yeah, whereas Heartless Basil over here, I mean, he's too intelligent. Heartless are not driven by like the instinctual cravings of normal Heartless. They can think, and this is one of the things where the games doesn't really explain. Like, we don't know for certain whether or not, like, you have to be told you're a Heartless or a Nobody, or you just know it instinctually. Because they've shown in every case except for Sora, both versions have memories, and most of them remember their demise. In Basil's case, he didn't. He was knocked out when he fell. So, like, that's why he flew under the radar for so long, and no one could really tell because he was such a small presence. That's why it took, 14 sessions before you guys figured out he was a Heartless?
I suspected it from very early, from the Darkness reveal, but it took a while to actually get confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, and Devin, you even said it from, like, the get-go. Whenever you were, like, going to different places, you're like, I'm hiding in this person's hair. Like, most Keyblade wielders never saw you, and the ones that did were friendly enough with the party that they didn't bother checking. So you were kind of covered from that get-go.
Okay.
Other questions, guys?
Do we have any other questions about, like, party members? Because I think I know, but, like, is there anything else
there you
about
go. Hello.
Is there anything-
I lost connection from.
Oh. Did you hear my entire explanation?
Let's see. I heard the part about how I was small enough that anyone who wasn't friendly with us overlooked me, so that's the reason we didn't get attacked when we went to the book to for the.
Yeah.
that was-
Yeah.
Is there anything else to my...
What happened after that?
That was pretty much it.
Is there anything else to my
Oh.
past that I don't know? Like, how I became sentient or anything like that? Or is it, like, all just kind of happened that way?
You're ageless. Eventually, your intelligence just hit a point just from years of wisdom. And again, time was screwed up. So you're a lot older than you probably should be because you've been traveling so much. and you did start out with Master. You're the equivalent of Lushu. At one point, I was toying with the idea before the game start of actually making you a Lushu who had transformed into a chocobo for some unknown reason.
I wouldn't have known what that meant.
Yeah. Lushu is the guy you met outside the Keyblade Graveyard who gave you the Space Stone. He's Zigbar. He effectively has existed since the Master of Masters time and has possessed different bodies to keep going. You just would have been one of these incarnations of him.
So I'm just a hyper-enlightened chocobo.
You are a hyper-enlightened and incredibly lucky chocobo because of your connection with the Master of Masters from the past. That's where you gain your luck from. And your sentience just comes from years of wisdom.
Oh, cool.
Like Groundhog Day style, if you live long enough... Bill Murray's statement, like, I've lived the same day, he doesn't know how many times. Eventually you become almost godlike with your intelligence because you just know what's going to happen and you've experienced so much. And in your case, you have experienced so much, but I believe you took on aging, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Wait, if Coco did the snap, would he have just lived then?
No, because unaging does not prevent death from other means. It just means he doesn't age.
Immortal. I could die.
He doesn't age.
I probably was the oldest party member by a long margin.
You definitely were. You are several. You're like Master Yoda age.
Cool. Thanks.
Other questions. Mocha. Okay. Mocha is the lieutenant of the Anguius Union. So again, you guys didn't really dive into this. But the foretellers pick a captain who is their second in command, so they take over if they are unavailable. So Master Gula had the Time Stone, and he time traveled. Master Gula is actually Wilbur's father, Cornelius Robinson.
We didn't dive into that hole.
You did not dive into that hole. I wasn't expecting you guys to.
I wanted to keep bringing Mocha around, but...
Yeah. But because he wasn't at the battle, the time stone wasn't there. That's what fractured time. So that's why Nox had to take over, because he was the second in command. After captains are lieutenants. So normally a foreteller will pick somebody who, complements their own abilities. So Master Gula was, kind of like a sit back and watch things. He picked Nox because he complimented him, because he was a defensive fighter. He could generate shields, so they could sit behind the barrier and think of things. And their lieutenant, Ruled, who you guys met, was a tactician, so he could figure out the best plan of attack, and then the three of them would work together to engage that. Same thing with Anguius. Master Envy, as you all know, was more of a, sit back and watch things tactician, coordinate with everybody due to the Mind Stone. Actually, wait a minute. Let me check my notes. I forget if Mocha was the captain. No, Mocha was the captain. Kalosira was the lieutenant. She was third in line. Mocha was second in line. Mocha shored up Master Envy's lack of combat experience. She was the frontline leader. She was in the fray during the battle, which is why when the foreteller started to, fall as the battle was raging and Master Aced was going crazy with the Power Stone, she was in the thick of it, which is why she got caught in the becoming a Darkling thing. Most of the Darklings that you guys fought in that final battle there, by the way, were part of the Ursus Union, which is what Master Aced led, so they already wanted to follow him. And since Mocha was fighting against that union, she was more wary, even though she felt kind of a pulling because, Heartless Titan, telling, lesser Heartless what to do. She was incredibly capable in combat. And now that she no longer, could be associated with her union, she had more of a freedom to do what she wanted and what she thought was right.
Okay,
Did me sending her super energy help or cause her to get killed?
Little of column A, a little of column B.
Okay.
She was going to die. There was no two questions about it. She could not take on an army by herself. That said, I did adjust the values. The reason you Dynamaxing Mocha before you guys even got there is one of the reasons why the ground battle was going more favorably for you guys before you even showed up.
Hooray!
Alright, let's see. What about,
I'm so sorry,
Ellie?
Elrond.
I've seen.
Elrana Larkseen. Okay, she is a canon character. Elrana is her name. She is a member of the Dandelions. This is canon. She eventually becomes the nobody Larkseen, who is number 12. 12? Number 11? No, number 12 of Organization 13. The abilities I showed her using, lightning daggers, a lot of lightning abilities, splitting herself up to attack. She's known as the Lightning Assassin. She's done all that. We've seen her. And we have confirmed that she was a Keyblade wielder from the Dandelions. Information that I had to fill in was I said she was a member of the Ursus Union. She wasn't high-ranking or anything. She was asked to join the Dandelions and went along with them. And the Dandelions that went into Shibuya had no information that the Keyblade War ever took place. So while she was there, the Marluxia is another member of Organization 13 who was confirmed to be a Keyblade wielder ahead of time. He was actually one of the 5 leaders of the Dandelions, named Laurium. He told Elrana, Ellie, to take the Mark of Mastery exam. And she did, which involved her diving back into the world you guys were a part of, the Realm of Light. That's why you saw her that day in Daybreak Town being confused as all hell. And that's when the reports came in of a lot of Keyblade wielders reappearing in worlds that had no knowledge of the war. Because they had been protected in Shibuya and, never found out about that kind of battle. And some of them became Keyblade Masters. Elrana was one of them. Others failed and just returned and had their memories wiped of what had happened about the Keyblade War once they found out about it.
Okay, so more questions. These might have been answered, but I'm still confused.
Mm-hmm.
Shibuya and the Atlanteans who were like shielding things in the book. In general, what was the deal with that?
The Atlanteans?
Yeah, we met all the Atlanteans and they were like, we live here now. We're protecting all the things.
Oh, they were written out of existence by Xanatos and they were just confused. They thought that they were still under the ocean and that, they turned away outsiders. They didn't understand that they were, no longer on their world. They were just confused.
Okay, and I get it was, so why was Shibuya protected and why was it in the book in that case?
Okay, so Shibuya is effectively the afterlife in The World Ends With You.
Okay.
It's like a limbo, effectively.
All right.
So it made sense to put that world in the Soul Stone. Because I was using the Soul Stone as a means of, the world isn't quite dead, it's kind of, in an in-between place, and that's what the Soul Stone purpose was in this game. The Keyblade, the Dandelions were residing in Shibuya because, I play the mobile game, as you all know. They keep updating quests, and when this game started, they were starting to dive into the fact that the Keyblade War was happening and what we were witnessing now was Dandelion stuff. They were going more in depth to that, but it wasn't quite resolved, so I was filling that in, and I knew I had enough time until you guys actually set foot in Shibuya, where they would be able to see you, which I knew had to happen through the effectively tessering in with the Space Stone from one of the ruins. Which, that said, in the canon version, the Dandelions occupy a world that is not in the Realm of Light. It's actually a data world. And I did not want to open that can of worms.
But Izzy, that would have been hilarious. I would have had so much fun.
But the thing is, you would not know the difference with data worlds unless you access the main thing. And the thing is, all the Tron canons have been used. And I didn't want to go there because I didn't want to F that stuff up. But what they're using in the game is, ironically, Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. You can leave through a room in the Daybreak Town world. It goes into a long tunnel, and you come out, and you are in the game station in Wreck-It Ralph, which I thought was clever, but I didn't want to do that. And you'd already gotten to that point at that point. So I figured the best way to represent these people going to a world where they would be unaffected by the Keyblade world and be safe would be going to Shibuya. And the reason for that is Master Ava is the first wielder of the Soul Stone. She's the foreteller who was actually put in charge of making the Dandelions, selecting Keyblade wielders from every union, and just being like, you are going to be separate from these unions now. Your job is to go, survive, and make sure the light doesn't die. And she sent them off-world. So in this game, I just had her shunt everybody into a Soul Stone.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
I have to head out at this point.
All
I
right.
still have a few more questions if you're cool with that.
I'm here to answer as many as you guys want.
So
Thanks,
did you
guys.
have where? Bye, John. Did you have where all the Infinity Stones were at the beginning of the game, or did you kind of come up with that as we went?
I had where all of the... I can actually tell you guys. I think it was like session 6 or 7 where it was finalized.
Okay, pretty early on.
Yeah, it was well before you guys realized there were Infinity Stones. I think it was right before or right after. It was right before or right after the Death Star blew up the Nexus of the Spirits. I think it might have been right before. Let me just check my notes. Yeah, it was definitely before, it looks like.
Okay. Well, I only have one more question.
Okay.
Were we correct on figuring out the things we lost?
I'm not sure. I don't think the actual answer that we finalized got pinned.
I do remember people did figure out... By the end of it, you guys were correct.
I mean, I think the decision was, like, and you can confirm this, it was Orion had lost their heart.
Yes.
They were nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Basil lost his body.
Body, I think, in that case.
Yes.
Because he's heartless.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Dr. Boy lost his...
Passed. That was easy.
Were you passed?
I was passed. I had amnesia.
You were mined.
Yeah,
I
thought you were.
okay.
How many people had amnesia? I'm just curious.
Sort of did, but
Yeah, a lot of people... Dr. Boy had amnesia. Coco and Basil sort of did. Orion sort of did.
so that means, was I the one who lost my past?
Yes.
Okay, I was right. That means Webby lost her future,
Mhm.
Yep.
Miriella lost her soul,
Yes.
and Mute lost
Dreams.
his dream.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got it right at the end.
Yes, you did have it right at the end. Like, you guys were able to slot things in correctly as they popped up. Oh, that means that means that you lost your body then because you're a heartless. And as you guys slotted them all in, you eventually got the puzzle correct.
Yeah, I think Dr. Boy and I were the hardest to, like, pick correctly.
I mean, again, a lot of those could be interchangeable, but no, you were past, Dr. Boy was mined. Because Dr. Boy's mind was actually invaded by another.
Don't blame me.
Totally blame you.
Any other questions?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
I'm like vaguely curious what Orion final boss would have looked like, because I think I know what Miriella final boss would have looked like.
Effectively, if it was a PC character that became final boss, I probably would have upped your guys' damage and given you guys more DR, which might have taken the form of, higher majory levels, or, always counting you as a step or two in a higher mana zone.
I feel really good that I prevented you from becoming final boss, Nick.
Oh, yeah, because it was going there for quite a while.
Serendipity was great, by the way. Jeez, what a good ability.
Yo,
I probably let you get away with more than I should have.
like,
I mean, Izzy, you were a little loose with the rules at points.
Yeah.
I will admit this freely. I was very loose with the rules at a lot of points.
But it was fun. Like, I assume, like, what other way would there have even been to get that necklace back with Muriela's soul in it?
Yeah, because I'd say Muriel would have probably gone final boss if you had not actually fixed that.
I took a lot of time to do that, by the way.
Yeah, it was one of those things where second to last session, I'm just like, I literally have the Infinity Gauntlet, 5 gems, and the Keyblade right now.
I trusted you.
You guys got anything else for me?
I do not.
I think that's pretty much every. I mean, like, it sounds. Oh, is Kronk still an aardvark?
He is not.
Damn.
I'm gonna say, if he was, that is one thing Muriel is gonna go fix fairly early on.
Yeah. If Dr. Boy was not the one who did the snap, I had it prepped that he actually ended up in Megalopolis and was doing handing out spinach puffs to the corporation as Dr. Boy was working in it.
Actually, that's a question. Did you have a plan for if, like, different things happening if each one of us did the snap?
Yes. There was a slight... Again, it was most... I didn't write anything out, but I knew who... I knew, like, two of you...
Well, now I'm curious. Like, assuming... I want to know, like, assuming we did that, she does the same things Dr. Boy did, basically. What would have happened if Webby did it?
I made no plan for Webby or Muriela. I'll be perfectly upfront about that.
Okay, so
Because you pretty much knew nobody was going to let that happen.
Not even nobody was going to let that happen. The way you both played your characters, Webby got her friends back and wanted to go back to the future. Muriela was self-preserving. Neither of you two made sense that you would want the snap. And you both took yourselves out of the running immediately this afternoon. Or tonight, so... I knew that was happening.
Yeah.
Everybody else, like... I figured it was either going to be Mute, Orion, or Coco. I was actually a little surprised, but I did have contingencies for Basil and Dr. Boy.
Yeah, Webby wants to die in a spike trap, not in a...
Yeah, exactly. Like
I in character, like I definitely was like thought I wanted to do the snap. I in no way expected to actually be the one to get it at the end.
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting it. I had a thing prepped. Like I'll be honest, I was toying with the idea of changing what the Master of Masters said based off of who did what, and I kind of tailored it a little bit to each person. And I almost toyed with the idea of, making it, a different person based off of who makes the snap.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the idea, though. I'm like, no, I've had this prep from the beginning. I'm not going to change it.
So what would it have what would have been something like the difference for the other 4 of us?
So here's the thing. It doesn't affect anything that immediately happened in that last scene. It more or less affects the after image of... So, like, Dr. Boy making the snap is more about, Megalopolis is now... While it's connected to all the worlds like that, gummy ship technology is now going to fall behind. Because he was the, forerunner on that.
Mm-hmm.
Coco, if you had made the snap, you would have been with the Master of Masters, and that would have been that. If Basil had made the snap, London, would have started suffering under, more a new criminal mastermind, who couldn't be now outsmarted. If Orion had made the snap, I'd assume there would have been other conditions added.
Yep.
And that would have changed things significantly. If Muke had made the snap, I was going to say that his father and mother, starting out as Judge Master and Legrim, and then becoming his parents, just kind of walk him off to that sunrise.
Aww.
Oh. I will say, I came to the position knowing there were 2 things that would have caused Muriela to fight for the gauntlet. One of which is one of you saying that what you want to do is go and rewrite time such that she wouldn't exist anyway.
Did anyone suggest that?
No, I think we discarded the idea of messing with time pretty early.
Yeah.
It very briefly came up.
It came up and I was like, that is one of the 2 conditions where Muriel would actually fight for getting the snap.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one would be is if the person who seems like they're going to get it just has some fucking stupid idea.
I mean, I did very seriously think about fighting for the snap, but like based on the decision I made last game about giving you the sword, Keyblade, and then seeing him like trying to throw that blade, I'm like, no, you have like bigger things you need to work towards. So like, I made a Coco decision, and
You must live.
Actually, Lex, I'm curious about that. What went into your decision for who to give the Keyblade to?
I thought for like a little. It was a little impulsive because it was like end of the game. I really want to give it off because I don't want like this to not be resolved by the end of game. Part of it was that. But the other half was like I was considering basically between, who is it? I was basically considering between Orion, Mute, and I think you. But like I basically resolved you. And from what I knew about you, I didn't think you would be about, like, the greater good of balance. Even back together, you're kind of like a person who's about self-interest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Muriel is still much more about, I want to go on interesting adventures and, like, stop worlds from being destroyed.
And, like I basically was like, I couldn't give it an NPC because no NPC had ever made an impact enough other than Terran, who I was not going to fucking give it to. Like, in the entire game that was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you give it to if you had pick of everybody? Like, don't forget, you after the snap, a bunch of people came back to being alive.
Maybe John Cena.
Yeah.
There are worse ideas.
I can't honestly think of too
There
many
are
other
much worse ideas. Let's be honest.
The problem is we were very transitory. We went from, like, world to world, and, like, that was sort of it. And, like, you know what I'm saying? Everyone that really made
I should have the big guys, but
All right.
this is an experience.
Good night, Devin.
Yeah, the 3 NPCs
Night, guys.
that I
Okay.
Hopefully I'll be able to join for game streaming or something at some point, but glad
Yep.
I got to do this with you guys.
Yep.
Yep,
But
it's been a blast.
It was
The
great.
problem was every NPC we ran into just didn't feel like a good fit. No one stuck around long enough that like was a serious contender. I really did think I might give it off to an NPC, but as the game went along, I'm like, I guess it's got to be a party member. And it felt like too important a part of my character to not give away, so that left Orion and Mute. And like, it's no offense, Sean, but like, you didn't give me a lot to work with most of the time.
I know. I am very anti-Keyblade,
Yeah, no,
especially that one.
a lot of the private messages Sean sent me over the course of the game consisted of, I need to attack this Keyblade wielder. Or maybe, like, when you guys went to Daybreak Town the first couple of times, it was like, are you going into an alley and killing somebody? And I think your answer at one point was yes.
Well, and that's why it ended up being Mute, because like Mute is the character that I kind of watched go through the most changes, and in some ways kind of like fathered the most.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time the game was like where we were at, he'd grown a lot as a character, and was a character who wanted to like balance things out and still do good. And like I think I thought afterwards, I'm like, well, you know, once he's done with the book, he doesn't have anything to live for in his mind, so why don't I give him something to like actually strive for?
Makes sense.
Like I probably should have handled the handoff a little better and not as rushed, but like I think I still would have made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Oh, no, that makes complete sense.
I mean,
Like,
Izzy, who did you think I was going to give that blade to?
Me personally, I thought it was gonna go to Mute.
Yeah,
I mean,
It was pretty
the
obvious
big one
it was
for
gonna
me
be-
was when you said he was basically balanced between light and dark, very like when we all got analyzed. And once I realized like the true nature of the blade, I'm like, well, that seems like a real good fit.
mm-hmm.
The reason why Mute read as balanced in that section was actually because he had the Force and a lot of his surrounding was flowing through him. That was one of the reasons.
I still
Oh, that's what that meant. Okay.
Yes, because Sean bought the he's like, I don't know what to spend my points on, and I think I told him while you guys were still in the Nexus of the Spirits that look, if you give me 15 points right now, I'll give you something cool. And I was talking to people, and I'm like, I think I'm going to give him the Force, and some my GM talking to people were like, yeah, no, that sounds fun, and then that same session, I think he typed in one of the chats, yeah, I probably have the Force now or something. And I was dying inside because he was right.
Nice.
And I think it didn't... I don't think he realized he had the Force until like...
He has a super high midichlorian count.
Yeah. He didn't realize it until like 6 sessions later or something.
Yep.
Yeah, and was there any adverse effect on me from giving that up or anything?
Over the course of game, no.
But like in epilogue, like it didn't affect me or anything.
I mean, you no longer have access to give the Keyblade. You,
Yeah, obviously.
like mechanics wise, you lost a bunch of points.
Well, yes.
Like you gave them away. Epilogue wise, no, you're still you.
Yay.
Like the growth you have had as a chocobo, the lucky chocobo, was not like you grew that way because you had what was arguably the most powerful Keyblade ever for several hundred years within you, and that's what helped you, change and evolve. But because you lost that doesn't mean you, lost everything you had gone through. It just means you have lost, you're no longer going to be growing as quickly as you used to. You're going to be where you are now, which
I'm okay with that. I'm a chocobo.
You're a chocobo. That is what it is. What it is.
I'm a chocobo sage.
Your mom will still be like, Coco, you should start a band. I feel like we're gonna meet up again on random adventures throughout Worlds.
Oh yeah, like Kingdom Hearts 5. Webby and Muto definitely going back out into the world and saving the world.
I mean, I'm probably just sticking with Mute. I mean,
John Cena has showed up at your doors and told you there is a problem.
I mean, for me, part of it was being alone for a while and never feeling like I could stick with anyone. Now if
and Lena's totally gonna have a Keyblade too.
The funny thing
You're
is,
gonna be like teenagers. It'll be all angsty. It'll be great.
No, Hauser. The funny thing is, I talked to Izzy. I was like, Muriel doesn't hate Keyblades as much as Orion does, but she also wants to find a way to usurp their power and command it somewhere else, and she's totally gonna wind up getting one in post game.
I mean, let's put it this way. Okay? I know it naturally. It's like my natural enemy. And on top of that, my first experience seeing Keyblade wielders as a nobody is those terrible guys. I forgot which guild they were again.
Versus.
Yeah, Unicornius.
Yeah. That was my first time seeing Keyblades outside of knowing they're my natural enemy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I probably developed magic in the post game.
You guys did not part of the wish was not making it so Keyblades are harder to get. So yeah, all of you guys could at some point theoretically develop your own Keyblades. But that is up to each of you though. I'm not taking that.
I very seriously doubt I'm going to develop a Keyblade, Izzy.
Yeah, I think Muriel's going to develop one and absolutely hate it because now she's like, shit, I can't study it properly when it is already here.
My guess is my luck becomes almost magical, and I get some rudimentary magic abilities like Choco Healing and maybe Choco Meteor or something.
Mm-hmm.
Choco Meteor, you disappear. You use Sky Attack. Giant
Choco Meteor is a legit move, believe it or not.
It's true.
Work!
I probably would develop more luck abilities and just become a truly lucky wise chocobo.
I'm just still so happy that CocoZilla got to become a thing.
It was great.
Yep.
This was a really fun campaign. I don't know if I've ever had a campaign as just generally satisfying as this one was.
I mean, again, I hope you guys all had a good time. I know this game was far from perfect, but I hope the good parts were, really good, and the not so good parts were, not so bad.
This game was
storm
awesome.
of mess.
Yep. Game was very good.
I'll take the fact that I will accept the game was a mess as long as it was a fun mess.
But it was this weird mess where just everything worked well. Like, let's be honest, we were a messy party.
Oh yeah.
Oh, incredibly so. Again, Will was the last person in the group to join the party pre-game. I was looking at all of your concepts, and I'm like, is this going to be a Kingdom Hearts game with no Keyblade? And I'm looking through this, and I'm like,
It was close.
it was really close. And then Will got me his concept after
I almost didn't take the Keyblade for Webby either.
yeah. And like you gave, I want to play Webby, and I'm like, yeah, sure, you can play Webby. And then like you asked me, how much is a Keyblade going to cost? I'm like, oh, finally.
Was I the only one who actually thought in character creation, how am I going to travel to other worlds without a Keyblade?
Yes, the only other person who kind of thought of that was Dan. Which
I made an assumption I would just be lucky enough to do it.
you were lucky enough to meet Dan and Nick.
Yep, everything worked out.
Yeah, my entire backstory was I wanted to travel between worlds, and then I fucked it up.
I mean, Dan, that accurately describes my backstory too. We both made deals with the devil. One of us, I think, was just much more aware of what that deal was.
Oh, this makes sense now. I accidentally fucked up writing and made it so I was really that old. Because in my background, I write about how I just wandered between worlds, which I would have been able to do
Yes.
when they were connected.
Yes. Yes, while they were connected, and then they separated, and you were still doing it somehow, and time was screwed up. Like,
But I actually remembered doing it when things were connected. I just didn't, it was Chocobo at the time.
yes. Yeah, no, I looked at that and I'm like, perfect.
Man, I'm old.
Yes. Like, Dan is the only one who actually bought Amnesia. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, how am I going to work this in? And then Sean gives me his sheet where he's like, yeah, no, like, there's going to be a Heartless Nemesis version of me. And, Eating Worlds. And I'm like, Eating Worlds? And I'm like, Dr. Boy's world is gone. And he has amnesia. And I'm like, I can fit these. It was like a puzzle piece for me.
Glad it could help.
If I'd given you any opportunity to do it, I was totally going to be a Heartless, wasn't I?
I already kind of had decided that Devin was going to be, so I didn't, unless you had explicitly written for some way it wasn't going to happen. I wanted to make that at least unique. You could have easily been a Heartless. That said, unlike Basil, you had actively been studying it, so you could not have been a Heartless without knowing it.
Gotcha.
Like,
Sorry.
I still can't believe I actually used the Heartless summoning spell in game. That was the big one. I was like, I'm never going to use this, but I need to buy it for backstory reasons.
yeah.
I am just happy that I was able to be a good supporting bird.
Bird!
And I my only character hope was that I made everyone feel better and tried to help you through all your problems.
You were a very good therapist, Bird.
Yeah. Therapy animal, buy an extra seat on the plane for them.
Yep. Wex, you basically made me buy off the fake disadvantages I was playing as having, but I'd already hit the disadvantage limit, so I didn't really have them on my sheet.
Ah.
Derp.
Yeah,
Which
Like, at the beginning of the game, I was like, no, Muriella definitely has bully and sadism. It's not at the level that I should put her on my sheet, but she 100% has them.
which reminds me, if the next RPG I end up playing, my character is either going to be something if it's not in a system that I am familiar with, and have already decided what my next character is going to be, I'm probably going to end up playing Taran, like from when you guys just met him.
God.
This would be fucking amazing in your game.
Izzy, I feel the need to point out that actually is a perfect concept for the next game that I'm running.
I may want to kill myself in character, but that would be amazing.
Like, several of you have like, oh yeah, game. And I'm like, yeah, no, a guy who wants to be a warrior but is just a better rogue and is a
guy
complete
who
idiot.
wants to be a warrior, but...
Yeah, his name is going to be Taran Warrior. I'm a warrior. Much like O'Doyle rules.
Izzy, if you want to play Taran in the thing that I'm going for, we can do that.
We'll see.
Well, I feel like I need to play another game with you guys because I had a lot of fun and it has been a long time since I've played a game with people who basically like are having as much fun and doing the outgoing stuff like I am. I usually play with people who are a little bit more introverted.
Yeah. Also, fun fact: I think this is only the second successful game I have ever run to completion.
Oh, it was a really successful game to completion.
Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, I had a really great time with this. Like,
Thank you.
shockingly so.
Thank
I thought
you,
I'd
Izzy.
like absent a lot more games just because of
It
busyness.
can't be understated. Thank you, Izzy.
Thank
yeah,
you.
for real.
Thank you.
I really thought I'd be absent more games just due to busyness, but like it was compelling enough. I had enough fun. I just wanted to be at every game.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I'm like, okay, I'll run if there's ever just 4 people. And then, like, the only time we couldn't run was because I think we had 3. Every other time it was, 5 people, and then it became 6 halfway through because someone was late. I don't think we ever ran with less than 6.
Yeah, it was fun to play it. It was fun to hang out with everyone.
Yep.
And that's what I want to, make sure my games are like.
Now listen, I loved interacting with everyone's characters.
I
Yeah, the
enjoyed the
dynamic's
challenge
quite
of
fun.
not being able to goddamn speak. That was great.
I mean, let's be real. Coco was the MVP of this game.
Woo!
Yeah, Coco saved us from so much shit.
I think Coco is legitimately my favorite RPG character I've ever played. I'm not even joking.
Coco seems worthy of that designation.
Which shocks me.
I think Muriel is mine, but that's a different thing because I usually play in a game every 3 or 4 years.
I've never had a character that I've like. Coco was not what I expected, and I evolved into it. And I think because I had so few expectations of what he would be, it just was so much better.
Mm-hmm. And those are the best kinds of games. Like, my favorite game ever was Nick's Space Game, as far as characters. I loved playing 6.
6 was phenomenal, Izzy, and oh boy, did I make you pay for taking Cursed.
That was the best part of that character.
For those who don't know, it's a disadvantage that says the GM can fuck with you whenever they want to, and you're not allowed to complain about it because you took this disadvantage.
Ha ha ha.
I never complained.
No, even when you were, what was it, doing the worms distract a bunch of guards while they were trying to tase you.
Then they shot me, killed me. I respawned like I always do, 5 feet to the left of Wash, who was flying on a griffin, so I plummeted to my death, and then respawned next to him again and again. Then he summoned a magic carpet, so I wouldn't die immediately. And I was respawned as the guy who took the vow of silence, so I couldn't tell him what the problem was. Not that I remembered anyway, because each personality I had a different memory set.
Yay.
It was glorious.
I gotta say though, Nick, I think I had some of my favorite roleplay interactions ever with you.
I agree too, X.
Like that was the whole build up with the Soul Return was one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys can tell me, what is your favorite memory of this game?
Okay. It's really tough to say because Dynamaxing Coco's really strong right now.
That's really a front, though.
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Honestly, because this was my turning point moment, I think returning the heart of Tafiti. Because that was like this feels special now. Like, this is a special game.
Okay. Anybody else? Like, again, I know the last couple of sessions are fresh, especially with the crazy battle, but like, if you can think back, what pops into your mind? I'll tell you guys what my favorite moment is, and it's a moment I have gone back onto YouTube and listened to I can't tell you how many times.
Is it when we realized the Marvel characters?
It's when you guys finally figured out who Steve was. It's like a 10-minute section. I actually have it marked in the YouTube video, where the timestamp is, where it starts and where it finishes.
Dad, I caught a Pokemon!
I love it so much because, again, I know it wasn't in technically it. That's not what I want. Technically, it wasn't. Like, you guys didn't figure it out in character. I think you said it yourself. Like, you couldn't figure it out in character. But by that same token, like, you guys figured out, oh crap, there's going to be Marvel here. And then just no, wait, then that means that. And that's when you guys figured out that the Infinity Stones were probably in game.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite moment because we were talking it through and then just everything clicked, and it was awful.
And you guys are like, Izzy, isn't this cruel? Izzy? Yeah, no. Session 14, I have it written down. I like to listen from 1 hour 39 minutes to 1 hour 47 minutes, and that's.
Oh no, I know what mine was.
I think that's when I realized the scope of how fucked we were.
You should post that, by the way.
Izzy, my favorite was the cave on Dagobah.
I thought that was a clusterfuck, to be perfectly honest.
I couldn't really like that one because I didn't feel it super applied to me easily, and that was kind of like I don't know.
I thought it was really good.
I think it was great for most other people. I just didn't feel like I had a good hook in that cave.
So for me, it's tough to decide between the darkness reveal and the cave on Dagobah.
I think the cave on Dagobah was when I decided I needed to fix you.
Oh yeah, I think that was 100% the moment where you're like, this to be fixed before it becomes a bigger problem.
I'm like, you are so broken, I need to heal you.
Which darkness thing, Nick, specifically?
The one where I almost attacked the entire party.
Like that, because you had like the rage moment, and I'm like, oh geez.
Yeah, on the ship.
Which was ironically, I think, the session before the one I just posted.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the first session where we had that was the first like really heavy like role play section where everyone's kind of grievances got aired.
Yep.
I loved it too.
Well, that was really good. Like
I just remember, Nick, like you had that one moment where you're like, no one's gonna take this, and I will burn it all down. And I'm like, why the hell?
Yeah, like that was one of my favorite in character bit because I was just trying to drive the goddamn ship while the kids were all scraping each other in the back.
Like, oh, I take that back. Actually, that was session 6. That was a lot early. That was the first time you guys ended up in the book.
Yeah.
Dan, what was your favorite moment?
I'm torn. I really did like the session 6 ship conversation. Honestly, though, I'm not gonna lie. I actually was tearing up a little bit at the end when we were doing the snap.
Yeah.
So I think that might have actually topped it.
I mean that no two ways. That's a somber moment.
And,
Yep.
Pretty culminating moment for your character in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd actually would get to resolve that. So that was quite good.
And you did it as you without any other external influences, which, like, you had a few moments in session 29 and this past session, but like your entire game has kind of like there's been something in the back of your head just kind of needling you.
Yep. Got to be me.
You got
What
to
about
be.
you, Sean? If you're there.
Sean?
I think.
I gotta hit the sack.
Yeah,
I'll talk to y'all some other time.
Yep.
I'm about to as well. I just like riding a high from this because I wanna conclude this in my brain.
Yeah.
I'm very glad I have a
Peace.
short day at work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm counting on a delay.
Yeah, I'm off for the rest of the week, so I was planning on staying up late tonight.
I'm gonna stay up late because I'm working from home tomorrow, and yeah.
I'm showing a movie in class tomorrow. I don't fucking care.
Nice.
Super easy, and it's related to the book we're reading, so who gives a fuck? Not me.
Yeah. Or is it? Good question, Izzy.
This?
Yeah.
No, this is the end of a chapter. And here's the thing, and Dan can back me up on this, like, I have seen what happens if games, like, follow-up games happen.
Yep.
I don't really want to follow up to this.
Exactly. Like, I'm, like, as much as I would like to continue it, I'm like, no, this is the ending of a chapter. And also because I have to, work within the realms of what's canon.
Well, like, I think sometimes follow-up games can be fine, but like it needs to feel appropriate. This was a self-contained story that we finished.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I could see there being more fun to have in this universe, but like with different characters.
Yeah, definitely. And even then, I don't know, like, because then it just goes into normal Kingdom Hearts. I like that we kind of forged our own thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, again, it's not a 1-for-1, and I knew it wasn't going to be because if it was going to be a 1-for-1 and I was just setting the stage for a precursor, I'd be writing a book. I wouldn't have run an RPG.
And also, I gotta say, Izzy, for someone who just usually doesn't care much about Kingdom Hearts, you made me care or was interested a little bit by the end.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yep.
I do recommend playing some of the games. I do think they are good stories, though.
I don't know if I have time in my life anymore for that.
Yeah.
You might when it comes time to introduce Graham to any video games you like.
I am not going to introduce him to Kingdom Hearts for a very long time, even in that circumstance.
He can probably beat it by the time he's 7. Like the first couple of games are, especially with the remasters that make the controls better, they're not hard.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know.
I mean, it's Disney. That was the selling point. And again, like if I run a game, like Dan will tell you this, the last 2 games I ran, one which I guess they both were to completion, but one was a little bit more satisfying, were continuations of Wash's Ninja game, and that's the game I'm like, we've beaten this to death, because
Yes.
Dan ran one, or did you run 2, Dan? I forget.
Well, I've run 2 Ninja games, but one of them was with a completely different group.
Yeah.
If anyone does run something that I think I'd enjoy, I would love to hear about it, because I can probably balance doing at least one game like this at a time.
Yep. But as I explained to you, X, I don't think my next idea is quite as much your jam.
Nah, I don't think it is either.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, I'm picky about it because I don't have the time to do more than one RPG. That said, like, when I do say I'm signing up for this RPG, I am all in. Like,
I will say, Izzy as a player shows up to every possible session and takes more detailed notes than the GM does.
Yeah.
if you guys would like, I can send out my 49 pages of notes from this game that I have taken about each session. If you guys,
I feel like that's probably my cue to go.
That's fair. Good night, Wex.
Good night, Wex.
By midnight. Good night, guys.
I'd be interested in seeing your notes on this, Izzy.
I mean, you'll see probably like some points where I made decisions. Like, I think my decision as to where the Infinity Stones are, like, you can tell exactly where I made the final decision for it.
Yeah.
Webby Fee. Why is that in there?
What?
Like, let me.
Yeah, and, like, I did in the last few minutes. I did pretty much final put together a working character sheet for the low fantasy game.
Yep.
Yeah, my character has a lot of money problems.
Little bit. Send it over to me via Google Share or something.
Yeah.
Never mind. There's some stuff that's still TBD. Like that game is going to be one where we're going to be working out the world and talking character session 0. So like, don't write anything in stone yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is all still just mechanical stuff at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Man. But yeah, this was a ton of fun, Izzy.
Glad you guys had it. All right. So I think we're done with the Kingdom Hearts talk. So I am going to end this post-game talk recording, and I'm going to stick around and we can talk about some other stuff if you guys want.
Yeah.
Sure.
But signing off for the last time, Kingdom Hearts: Death by Waking. Farewell recording.
I died and I woke.
Yeah.
It was truly a death by waking. Oh, which reminds me, the one thing I wanted to do but decided against was I was going to play the 2 theme songs that I played for each group at session 0 during the finale. And I'm like, we don't need to listen to Closer or Dearly Beloved.
No.
But just so you guys know.
Okay.
Anyway, stopping